Welcome, Jesse. Jesse Haines has been at Google for what, 14 years?
15 years.
15.
Just had my Google-versary.
Yeah. Oh, you have a lot of those words over there, I know. So we're here to talk about Grow with Google, which you run, and it's a very powerful program that I don't think enough people know about. So we were very happy to have you here to talk about it. So tell us, what is it?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. It is such a pleasure, and it's great to be at an in-person event, even in spite of everything. Grow with Google is Google's effort to create economic opportunity for everyone. We know that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And so Google wanted to do more, specifically to enable job seekers and small businesses to succeed, get the jobs they need, grow their businesses by giving them digital skills. And so that is the high level vision of Grow with Google. We launched this initiative in 2017.
And you helped create it too.
I helped create it,
yeah.
and you know, it was a scrappy little Google idea. And now we have a big team, and we've trained over 7 million Americans since we launched in 2017.
Trained over 7, you didn't even say that on the phone. That's a great number. Well, I want to go into the details both on the job training and the small business side. But before we do that, talk to us a little bit about how you see and how Google sees the responsibility of a company, especially a big company, in this strange moment that the world is in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this notion of using technology as an enabler has really been baked into Google's values from the very beginning. AdWords helped the little guy play on the same level as the big guy. And I just think that has been always a core value of Google. It's honestly what drew me to the company. With everything that's been going on, the pandemic, the racial reckoning, I think that we have really said, you know, this is where Google needs to do even more, because Google is really good at solving big problems. The other thing that I think Google is uniquely positioned to do, and this has really been a big aha moment for us in Grow with Google, is we have convening power. When Google calls, people answer, and that's really exciting, because to really drive economic change and create economic opportunity, you've got to get the whole ecosystem working together. The employers, the educators, the workforce development boards, the nonprofits, and Google can do the great things, build the great programs that we have at Grow with Google, but also bring the right people around the table, and that's how you really make systemic change.
Yes, when Google calls, people do answer. It's true. So before we go into the details, let's quickly watch a short video that talks about one of the things you're doing.
Great.
When COVID hit, it hit us pretty hard. It wasn't too long after that when I lost my job. Not even more than 2-3 weeks later, I fell into a position where I was losing my house. Me and my family, we were living with my grandparents for a short period of time.
Sorry.
The thought in the back of my mind, you know, my kids, my wife, they've always relied on me to support them. The only jobs I was able to...
Forgive us for that brief glitch. We'll be back with you.
There's always a technology glitch in the technology talk. That's like table stakes.
Are we going to be able to get it up there pretty fast, Caitlin?
Oh, there we are.
When COVID hit, it hit us pretty hard. It wasn't too long after that when I lost my job. Not even more than 2-3 weeks later, I fell into a position where I was losing my house. Me and my family, we were living with my grandparents for a short period of time. The thought in the back of my mind, you know, my kids, my wife, they've always relied on me to support them. The only jobs I was able to find were jobs that couldn't pay the bills. It was just a dead end everywhere I looked. It's always been a dream of mine all my life to be in the IT field. I enrolled in an IT training program with a nonprofit called Merit America, and they helped me earn my Google Career Certificate at my own pace in less than 6 months, and connecting me with a coach, a group of peers, and employers. The Google Career Certificates program was created by experts that currently work at Google. And it was so flexible, it allowed me to navigate my very busy life and still have plenty of time for my family. The Google Career Certificates program really taught me how to be more efficient with the skills I'd already known. I knew everything I was learning throughout the course was relevant to the industry. It just gave me a level of confidence I've never had before. When I completed the Google Career Certificates program, I was so happy. The next day, I was getting interview requests for jobs in IT. One really stood out from the rest, and that was Zenify. The job I had before Zenify with Custom Fireside was the highest paying job I've ever had in my life. I was a lead installer, and with Zenify, as an apprentice, I'm actually making more than that. My family is definitely proud of me. If someone else is considering Google Career Certificates, I just tell them to not give it a second thought and just dive in for it, because it's such a rewarding feeling at the end of it all. My story is proof that if you want something bad enough, you can make it happen.
A predictably polished video. So thank you for that. And beautiful, and a great set of thoughts. So talk about this career certificate program, how you work with the other groups like the one he mentioned, and where it came from.
Yeah. So there's a couple of sort of insights that really drove the development of the Google Career Certificate Program. First of all, out in the world today, 2/3 of Americans are not going to get college degrees. And we don't think that that should be a barrier to getting great jobs and building great careers in tech. So one thing that we're trying to accomplish with this career certificate program is to enable anyone, regardless of where you live or what your educational background is, to get the skills and training that you need to access in-demand, high-paying jobs in technology, which are those fields that you just saw scroll through: IT support, user experience design, data analytics, program management. And that is really what we're trying to do with the Google Career Certificate. There is a little bit of another backstory, which I'll share with you, which is that Google had a problem some years ago, which was that we couldn't hire enough people fast enough to fill the open roles at our, we call it tech stop, like our help desk function at Google. And there was a Googler, another one of those words, who was running tech stop. And she was sort of scratching her head a little bit on like, how do I solve this problem? And one of the things that she realized was that they were always looking for people who had college degrees. And she said, maybe that's like a false sort of barrier here. What if we did an experiment? So she teamed up with Year Up. It's an amazing young adult jobs organization. You might have heard of it. They did a pilot which trained young adults in IT support, provided them internships, and it was incredibly successful. And we said, hey, IT support is very teachable and you don't need a college degree to do it. And then we thought, if Google's having this problem, probably a lot of other companies are too. So we took that curriculum, we made it available to everyone on Coursera, and it took off. When the pandemic rolled around and we saw what was happening in the job market, we said, we need to do more. And that's when we launched 3 new certificates in other fields. And likewise, we've seen tremendous impact in terms of people really transforming their lives.
It also is what we might call a googly story, because you do, as a company, encourage people to be somewhat entrepreneurial inside the organization. And you were developing Grow with Google over here, and this woman was doing it in her area. And then you kind of met up, and that's when it kind of all catalyzed, right? Exactly.
We discovered her, and we were like, wait, what? How how, why, and it was a great Google moment where we were able to take this great idea and make it big and really bring it to everyone.
So, and you do partner with other groups, and talk a little bit about how it's structured.
Yeah, so with this particular career certificate, like we develop this training using Googlers. We build it, and we only pick fields where we, Google, have expertise. But no one gets training to get trained, right? People get trained to get jobs, to transform their lives. And so we thought it was really important to make sure that we were in close contact with employers because they're the ones who have the jobs. So right from the get-go, we built an employer consortium. Companies from Walmart to Bank of America, Google is of course in this consortium, that want to hire certificate graduates. I think we're close to having 200 companies in this consortium now. And we made sure that there was a pathway so that once people completed the certificates, they could be in touch with these employers and actually apply for open jobs at those companies. We've also since expanded the ecosystem. Now we're talking to the community colleges and trying to embed this into their curriculum. Four-year institutions are also interested in these certificates because there's not only an unemployment problem, but there's an underemployment problem, which we can talk about. And of course, we're continuing to work with amazing nonprofits like Year Up, Per Scholas, to make sure that they are able to use this great training to support their communities.
So quickly talk about what you do for small business too. And
yeah.
And I want to talk about some bigger questions.
Sure. So small businesses are the lifebloods of our community, as you know, and it's always been so important to Google to help small businesses understand how to get online and use the internet to grow. Not talking about like ads products. I'm talking about helping them take the first step. 50% of American small businesses do not have a website. 50%.
50% of small businesses do not have a website?
Do not have a website.
That is a shocking statistic.
So we like to say we're helping the beginners begin. And I think that another big thing, so we have an amazing digital coaches program these are coaches that are in 20 cities across the US working specifically with Black and Latinx businesses to help them get online, learn how to use the internet, just provide connections and mentorship. But something that I'm super proud of that really was born out of the pandemic was the Grow with Google Small Business Fund. Small businesses, especially Latinx and Black small businesses, sometimes have trouble accessing capital through the traditional venues. And so we teamed up with an organization called Opportunity Finance Network and created a $170 million small business fund where OFN helps deploy capital through CDFIs in communities to help small businesses stay afloat during the pandemic. We announced that last year, and as this year ends up, we have now officially deployed the full fund.
So Google made the capital available and others are helping lend it, but it's not a giveaway, but it's a subsidized lending program.
Exactly. And there was, yes, and $10 million of Google.org grants in addition to that.
Grants?
Pure grant money.
Wow.
So we're helping small businesses by, again, empowering them with digital skills and also, doing things like the Small Business Fund.
So I love the sound of this, but when you describe it, and actually there's other things Google does too, I wonder, is this philanthropy? Is this business development? Is it marketing? What is it?
It's an economic opportunity initiative. I think that it's a win-win. I think Google wants to make sure that, like the IT support certificate, we benefit from being able to increase the talent pool, think differently about hiring, and bring in great new sources of talent to the company. Digital skills are something that, the more digital skills, the more people are going to use Google. So it's great for job seekers and small businesses. It's good for Google, and it's what we know. If Google's going to go out there and try to make a difference, let's like lean into the stuff that we know best, which is all of these things that I've been talking about.
So it solves problems for you. It solves problems for society. It's more like corporate social responsibility than philanthropy. It's not really part of google.org for the most part, although you have some money from there, you said.
We team up with google.org on a lot of things, and I sort of cringe a little bit at the CSR moniker, because another super cool thing.
Hey, you used it to me on the phone.
I know, but with a cringe, I cringed.
Okay.
Because I think that what we do is so different. Because another thing that I think is amazing about Grow with Google is that I've talked about programs and grants and funds, but what we also do is work with the product teams. We are thinking and offering up suggestions as we go deep and really learn about what small businesses and job seekers are needing and the challenges that they're facing. And we go to our product teams and we say, hey, have you thought about how to make search easier for job seekers? And they're willing and open to hearing our suggestions and have actually made changes to our core product, Google Search. Here's an example. Veterans, returning service members have a really hard time finding jobs in the civilian world when they end their military service. But, and maybe we have some veterans in the room here, when you are in the service, you get a MOS code, a military occupational service code. If you go into Google, to our Google search bar, and type in your MOS code, Google will translate the skills that you used in the military into civilian jobs that use those same skills and share with you a list of jobs, you know, in your area. And just as we tested this with veterans, just the possibilities and the excitement and the hope. I mean, that's an only Google could do it sort of thing. Is that corporate responsibility?
No, I don't know what it is, but it's a great synthesis of what you can do, and it also benefits your product. So
it's big thinking, and it's putting the user first, and it's doing all the things that I think have always just been at the heart of what we do.
Okay, cool. Anybody in the room have a question? Okay, right there, please.
Hi.
Oh boy, that was a tee-up question.
We are. Grow with Google.
The question is, wait, just repeat it.
Yes, I'll repeat it, please.
What, if any, thought is being given to expanding overseas and in developing economies? Thank you so much for that.
Yes, thank you for that question. I run Grow with Google US, but I have counterparts all around the globe who are doing similar activities, running. So it is a global initiative. And
specifically, there's a couple of countries where you're really pushing hard, notably India for one, right?
We're doing big things in India, Africa, Europe. I mean, there's a lot of activity really all over the place.
So the idea is this is a global initiative and it will continue to grow.
Yes.
Wow, Jesse, it's a great story. You're a great exponent of it and a representative of your company. Thank you so much for being here to tell us about it.
Thank you so much for having me
really
today.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.